So now that I have the font installed, I can go into my font list here and choose from the drop-down list, find the font. Sometimes I find this doesn't happen very often anymore. Sometimes you have to restart your program to find the font list, or sometimes you just type it in here and you'll find it there. So anyway, I know this is going to be really large, so I'm going to start off with a very large point size. And by the way, points is only for Photoshop part of it. Of course, when we get to the web, it's going to be pixels or ems instead. So I'm going to color pick this color, the white here. And actually, all I'm going to do is I'm going to type it in first off. Now with the type tool, once you click on the stage here, it will automatically create its own layer. So I don't have to worry about creating a new layer. So there's my name. And I'm going to select this. And to change the color of the text, I'm going to click this little text box up here. This is only for text. You're going to see it up here. And I'm just going to go down and color pick that area there. And there's my type. I like this title to be big and bold. So I'm just going to kind of move it over to the left with a nice spacing on the side here. And I'm just going to click and drag. Now what I'm doing is I'm in transform mode with the move tool selected and the transform control selected. I'm able to enlarge this by pulling on the corners. I'm also holding the shift key down to make sure that it sizes up proportionately. Now I want the same amount of space between my navigation and the sides here. Once you're done, you have to hit return or enter, otherwise you won't be able to do anything else. And I have to go to my cheat sheet here and see what's next. I have this little byline here, so I'm going to, with the same color, I'm going to use that. The font that I used here is Myriad Pro Regular. Do not use this on a regular basis. It's a nice font. There's a Myriad Pro web font out there, so you can use that. That's the default font for Photoshop, so do yourself a favor and don't always use default. It looks nice to me for now, so I'm just going to just type that in here. I click again on the stage, and this time I'm going to change this. I'm just going to type in Myriad. Gives me Myriad Pro Regular. I'm going to use that. And this is going to be a rather small character, so I don't know how small yet. Let's try 18, see what that does. And I'm just typing in my byline. And then also with the text tool, if you move off a little to the side, you can actually move it around. And I'm going to try to emulate the same spacing, and I'm just eyeballing it for now so that everything's alright. Notice the contrast between the size of my title and the size of my byline. Different font, different size, so there's a good visual hierarchy going on here. The next thing I'm going to do is the navigation. So I'm going to cheat on this one. I'm going to just select this and copy it, Command C, copy it. And then I'm going to paste it, Command V. Now if you notice, this is a little small, so again I'm going to just take my move tool and I'm going to just just kind of click and drag this out, holding the shift key down so that everything sizes proportionately. With that bounding box that you see there, it's easier to see the edges, so sometimes it's easier to kind of position it where you want it to. Now, in my opinion, with this white, I want it to stand out a little bit more, so one little trick I'm going to use is what's called a drop shadow. So I'm going to go into my layer palette, and I'm going to go Layer Style, Drop Shadow, and that automatically makes that pop out a little bit more. Now that looks a little cheesy with it so 3D like that, and it doesn't really fit anything else. So I want to make it a little bit more subtle. So in my layer style box, I'm just going to choose about 1 or 2. I'll start off with 2 and see how that works. As a matter of fact, that's still a little much. I'm just going to go to 1. Like that. So it just stands out a little bit, like that. Click OK. Now, I've got this next part right here. I've got a bunch of text here. This is sort of like a secondary menu. So I'm going to copy that. Now this is Myriad Bold. So it's the same font as this, but this is in a bold style. But it's in a lighter color than this, so it doesn't stand out as much from the background as the top here. So what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to choose this darker turquoise color. So again, at this point, what I want to do is I want to create a sort of a division between the left and the right. And to make sure I keep within those boundaries, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Window. I'm going to go to, not View, Rulers. And when you have the rulers, you can click into the ruler area and click and drag across. You can go vertical or horizontal with this. This brings out a guide, and so that all my left-hand area space will be on this side of the guide, so I can choose the guide to kind of judge where this is going to be. And I'm going to, with the text tool again, I'm going to pull out another guide so it's lined up exactly along the lines of the top right of that M, and I'm just going to click and drag that out, and that's going to be a text box. And I'm going to copy and paste that in there. As you can see, that doesn't fit quite the same. Now with you, you're going to have a text file. You're not going to have this already set up, but basically for sake of time, I just chose a Myriad Bold, and I chose, basically what I did was I took this turquoise color and I darkened it to get this secondary turquoise color so that this is a little bit less intrusive, but you want it to be somewhat present. Okay, so the next part, I'm going to add a image to my content areas. So I'm just going to go into File, Open, and I'm going to open this image that I took using a Nikon professional style camera, which means that this picture is bloody large. Now, here's an example of what happens when you try to put an image of different resolution. As you can see, it just fills out the space way too much. So, what you need to do is size this image down, especially if it's a large image. So I'm going to go to Image, Image Size. You should all do this when you're going anything to the web. First thing I do, make sure resample is checked, and then resample to the web resolution down to 72. That's going to make this a lot more manageable, especially when I pull it into this second file here. So now when I pull that over, you can do it this way if you want to, just click and drag it across like that. It's a little big, no problem. All you have to do is just pull this down. Again, I'm holding the Shift key down. Make sure that the transform controls are selected. Using my guides to position it, and I probably want about the same amount of space between the E that I have for that. As a matter of fact, if I want to get a little nitpicky, don't forget to hit return. I might want to just take this down a little bit too, so that there's a little bit more consistency in the space between all areas there. Sometimes that can be hard to see. Okay, one thing that you may want to consider is taking this area here and giving it rounded edges so that it has a consistency. Remember that repetition part of the CRAP. You might want to take this and put rounded edges on this image right here. Probably the easiest way to do this is to take your rounded corner shape tool, and if you're going to do this, remember before it was set to pixels, I'm going to choose path instead. Now what this does is this draws out a path. For those of you who use vector, you know what I'm talking about. But basically, I'm just going to click and draw this out. Now, instead of filling this area like the other time, what it does is it creates a vector line around this thing. Now, the reason why this is so nice is because I can go to my paths palette, which is usually together with the layers palette and the channels palette. If you click paths over here, down at the bottom of the palette here, you'll see convert to pixels, or load path as a selection, but it converts to a selection here. And then as a selection, you can then go into your selection tool here and then just kind of arrow key it over a little bit so that it's centered right where you want it to be. And you don't want to cut out the center. What you want to do is cut out the sides. So you go up to select inverse and then hit delete. And there you have your rounded corners. So the next part, I'm just going to put some fake content in there. You can go to a website like ipsum.com, something like this, and then just copy and paste the text there if you want to. I'm going to make it a little bit quicker here and just select the text that I already have in this area there. You have this in your text file download. Notice I'm just going to Command C that, take it over here with my text tool. I'm just going to eyeball this area and I'm going to try to get it about in this area there. It makes it really hard with these palettes in the way. And I'm just going to again, you paste your Ipsum Lorium in there. You choose what font. I'm keeping a consistent font going here. And then I'm also adding a top line that has a sort of like a dark header on the top here. Let's just pull these palettes out of the way so that I have a little bit of visual hierarchy there for my content. Do make sure, you might want to pull your guide down to make sure that your fonts are going to line up to the top here. Now, another thing you may have noticed in my original design, let's pull that up again, is that down here at the bottom, I have a little bit of a sideline there, sort of a pull, kind of grab your attention in case you make it down to this side, see our latest project, and notice that it matches the font up here. And the reason I do that is because, again, that repetition kind of pulls these two elements together like that. So I'm going to just go ahead and copy and paste that, pull that over here, just click out there and paste that in there. Now, as you can see, you can't see that because you have to make sure that that text is going to stand out. So I'm going to go ahead and click white so that you'll see it, and then I'm going to resize that text up to fit in that area there, like that. And then I want to make that stand out just a little bit more. I'll just pull this up so you guys can see this. And then to make this stand out just a tad bit more, I'm going to put a drop shadow in there. I already have a drop shadow over up here for these, so I'm just going to go ahead and hold my Option key where the layer has a drop shadow and just pull that up there like that. Boom.